Chelsea. Where to even start? Todd Bowley has been hoovering up wonder kids and they've got a ridiculously bloated squad. Yeah, just look at it. But at least results have shown it's working. Awkward. Right. Okay then. Let me have a go. Now, I'm not too arrogant to admit that Chelsea have got some things right this season, notably Moises Caicedo, so we'll follow Chelsea's lead and bring Moises in from Brighton, costing us 85 million, a great first signing. However, to shore things up at the back and bring in some leadership, Alessandro Bastoni from Inter was signed for 77 million. We then further shored up things at the back as we purchased one of the hottest goalkeeping prospects in world football today. Diogo Costa set us back £53 million. There was of course some people we had to move on, so we got rid of Lukaku for 50 million, Bakayoko for 7.5, Pulisic for 56, Conor Gallagher for 35 and Broja for 35. Now, one area we know Chelsea are struggling in is the goals department. A decent squad option was purchased in Benjamin Sesko, but we needed a big signing to make a statement. Welcome to the club, Victor Osimhen. Meeting Napoli's £86 million release clause, Victor came in to be the number 9. Now, Al Hilal were in for Kante, who, to be honest, I didn't want to sell, but you look me in the eye and tell me you wouldn't accept 75 million from Saudi Arabia. So off Kante went, which meant we had so much money still to spend. We decided to go back to Napoli, Parthenope, to sign Ivica Kvaratskhelia. Been practicing. Ivica Kvaratskhelia for a cool even £100 million. Which meant we still had £60 million to spend, so we strengthened once more in defence as we brought wonder kid prospect Ousmane Diomande, a commanding strong centre-back to learn from legend Thiago Silva, setting us up for years to come. That being said, Diomande is not keen on the move. He wants us to strengthen up front. Not sure what Victor Osimhen's going to make of that, Ousmane. But Diomande arrived and that was our transfer business concluded. And the top goal scorer odds had the usual suspects. Haaland, Salah, Rashford, Victor Osimhen's in there, and Callum Wilson. Okay. The season began and it took just 5 minutes for Kvaratskhelia to open his Chelsea account as we beat West Ham 1-0. Up next was Arsenal, and within 2 minutes we caught Arsenal out when they were faffing around at the back, Sterling capitalising. Arsenal pulled it back when Costa rushed out and cleared straight to Thomas Partey, who scored from 35 yards out. Gabriel Jesus broke into the box in injury time of the first half and put Arsenal ahead. It only took a minute of the second half for a luxurious one-touch passing move to be dispatched by our other new boy Victor Osimhen before late drama and a winner in the 87th minute for us and other new boy Moises Caicedo, who fired home from outside the box. The drama of the Arsenal game calmed down as we faced newly promoted Luton. We strolled through to a 3-0 lead. Kvaratskhelia on the score sheet yet again, along with Sterling, and even Reece James popped up with one. Luton bagged a consolation and it ended 3-1. The early season good form continued as we dispatched of Ipswich 4-2 in the Carabao Cup second round. Then against Liverpool, our strong start looked set to roll on as Reece James scored again. Then Kvaratskhelia was robbed of a goal as he went down as a Canate own goal. Despite being 2-0 up, we couldn't hold on. Mo Salah hit back at the start of the second half, then he scored again to equalise. Although you've really got to question the goalkeeping there. Mendy getting a rare run out as Costa was injured. Finished 2-2. And after 4 games, we're third, but level on points with Brentford and City. We've had a couple of tough games, and we're unbeaten. A strong start for the new signings. Can we go from strength to strength? We got back to winning ways by beating Aston Villa 3-2, then Fulham 3-0 in reasonably comfortable wins. We had back-to-back games against Wolves, first in the Carabao Cup, winning 3-0. We then won 3-1 as we visited Molineux for the second time in 4 days. A big test against United was next, and Victor Osimhen finished coolly from a Bastoni nod down inside 5 minutes. Enzo Fernandez doubled our lead on the hour mark with this thunderbolt. Hannibal pulled one back for United, making it a nervy last few minutes, but we held on. That means after 8 games we're still unbeaten and top of the league. City have a game in hand, but are actually 6 points behind us as they've drawn too many games so far. Have we nailed this transfer window? Are we going to win the league? We then beat Burnley 2-0 before Moneybags Newcastle came to Stamford Bridge. Enzo Fernandez scored inside 2 minutes from a Reece James pullback. Renato Sanchez equalised for Newcastle with a beautiful finish from outside the box before one of the odds-on favourites to be the Golden Boot winner, Alan Wilson, popped up with Newcastle's second to give them the lead. Fortunately, the £86 million man Victor Osimhen headed home to make it 2-2. That's how it finished. It feels like 2 points dropped at home. So after 10 games, we're still undefeated, and despite dropping points against Newcastle, we're still top, 2 points clear of City and 7 points clear of United, who are in third. Is this a two-horse race? Despite Callum Wilson's goal against us, he isn't anywhere near the Golden Boot race. Shocker. A Bukayo Saka penalty eliminated us from the Carabao Cup before us getting back to winning ways as we beat Brentford 2-1 in the league. Raheem Sterling scored an uncharacteristic header after 5 minutes against Brighton. Some awful goalkeeping from Costa allowed Brighton an easy equaliser, but Captain Fantastic Reece James marauded down the right and lashed home to restore our lead a couple of minutes later. Mason Mount tucked in a third from the rebound, then he grabbed his second from the spot to make it 4. Brighton snuck another back, but it finished 4-2. Against Bournemouth, we fell behind early to a Dominic Solanke goal before our midfield duo turned things around. Firstly, Enzo Fernandez drilled one home from 25 yards. Is that questionable goalkeeping? Moises Caicedo then made it 2-1 with a lovely finish after bursting through before Bournemouth equalised. Once again, Solanke on target, and once again, questionable goalkeeping. What was Costa doing? The second half belonged to the £86 million man, Victor Osimhen, who scored not 1, not 2, not 3, not 5, but 4 goals as we ran riot throughout this half, making it 6-2. Bournemouth snaffled a consolation in injury time, making it 6-3, but we took the 3 points. 3 more wins on the spin mean, of course, we're still top of the league, and despite the fact that City are a point closer, they've actually played a game more. Could there be actual daylight emerging in the title race? And next we had the top of the table clash against Manchester City. A true test. Could we hold our own? Well, inside 4 minutes we conceded a penalty, and Erling Haaland doesn't need an invitation like that to score. Then our defence parted like the Red Sea as he ran clear onto a through ball to make it 2. And when we f***ed about with it and Enzo Fernandez played in Haaland for 3, it was game over. Sterling's shot was deflected as we made it 3-1, but any hopes of a comeback were quickly squashed as Kevin De Bruyne's effort was also deflected home. In stoppage time, Phil Foden made it 5, and that was that. A very poor day at the office. So yeah, we're no longer top, but we do have that game in hand still. Don't forget, as long as we don't fall apart, eh? We aimed to bounce back against Palace and we did just that. Enzo Fernandez fired home to open the scoring before Kvaradona popped up with a brace. The first a nicely curled finish, the second from the spot. 3-0 and it looked like game over. However, on the hour mark, Zaha nodded home as a consolation for Palace. But when Zaha ran down the wing 6 minutes later and crossed for Michael Olise to head home, it was 3-2 and we had a game on our hands. Zaha was then played in, and a shaky touch fell fortuitously and he was able to slot home, making it 3 goals in 10 minutes for Palace, and the comeback was complete. They were in the ascendancy and the winner looked like it would come from Palace. That was until Kovacic moved into a pocket of space unchallenged and bent one into the top corner with just 3 minutes to go. We'd salvage victory from the jaws of, well, certain victory really. But no, it wasn't the end to the drama. Shea Adams for Palace made it 4-4 in the 90th minute. A fantastic game for the neutrals. Not so good for the Chelsea manager. Now all of a sudden, that game in hand won't even put us back on top, and United are clawing us back in as we're only 2 points clear. We then got back to winning ways with back-to-back wins. We demolished Sheffield United 5-1 in an utterly convincing performance, some well-worked goals amongst many players, and it was a performance we desperately needed. It looked closer against Forest, however, it was reasonably comfortable here as well, as we ran out 3-2 winners. We were gifted the lead against Spurs when Romero decided to literally give it to Osimhen in the 6-yard box. However, our generosity was on par with Tottenham's, as in the 91st minute we returned the favour by giving the ball to Richarlison, 25 yards out. Costa was out of position, meaning it was an easy finish into an empty net. A brace for Victor Osimhen on Boxing Day gave us a 2-0 win against Everton before we were battered at Old Trafford by United 3-1. And with that, it's over halfway through the season, 20 games are now in the books, and United have leapfrogged us with that victory. City are only 3 points clear, so still definitely in touching distance. Do we dabble in the transfer market in January? The new year rolled in and we faced off against Wolves. We looked set for a 1-0 win after an early Raheem Sterling goal before we let Nelson Semedo waltz through with 5 minutes to go. In the 89th minute, the ball was squared to Mark Cucurella, who lashed home into the top corner from the edge of the area. A fabulous finish. There was time to seal it as Benjamin Sesko finished it off, and we won 3-1. Al Ittihad then came in with a £50 million offer for Trevor Chalobah, so yeah, he left, and now we've got money to spend. It was back-to-back 3-1s as we progressed in the FA Cup third round as we beat West Brom, and then back to the league, it was 3-1 again, this time with us beating Newcastle. We delved into the transfer market and splashed the cash on Yeremy Pino, meeting his £69 million release clause. Nice. Why buy another winger, you might ask? Well, we are Chelsea, and we've got to bloat that squad somehow. The 3-1s continued as we crashed out of the FA Cup to Bournemouth. Yeah, Bournemouth. Looks like this season's on the decline. Just the league to focus on then. And focus on the league we shall, as we've gone back ahead of United. We still trail City by 3 points, but they're involved in multiple competitions. If they slip up, we've got to be there to capitalise. We flew out of the gates against Burnley with Caicedo opening the scoring. Mason Mount scored a magnificent free kick before Messi Caicedo jinked through the Burnley defence and finished to make it 3. Burnley hit back not once but twice at the start of the second half, and it felt like Crystal Palace all over again. However, Mason Mount restored our 2-goal advantage, and then in injury time, Yeremy Pino grabbed his first for the club. Could he be the depth and missing creative piece to help us win the league at the first time of asking? Quite possibly. In a tense game against Everton, the deadlock was broken in the 71st minute by, you guessed it, Yeremy Pino. Raheem Sterling made it 2 before Benny Sesko nodded home for 3. A decent 3-0 win, and without cup distractions, we believe. That belief was short-lived as Trossard put Arsenal ahead after 2 minutes at the Emirates. Then a beautiful one-touch passing move tore us to shreds, giving Saka the chance to make it 2, which he did. We showed character in the second half with goals from Raheem Sterling to give us hope and Victor Osimhen to draw us level. With momentum on our side, you know what happened next, right? Yeah, Arsenal scored an 87th minute winner. Obviously. We then failed to get back to winning ways, drawing 1-1 with West Ham, and after 26 games we're down in third, albeit with a game in hand on Liverpool, and they're only a point clear, but that's not the whole story. Whilst we faltered, City haven't, and they're now 8 points clear. Is that too much? I mean, no. It's not, but we've got to get back to winning ways, and fast. And get back to winning ways we did, as we dismantled Spurs 4-1 with Kvaradona having an absolute stormer. This was followed up with a 4-1 win against Forest, with Osimhen doing the business, bagging a hat-trick. We then strolled past Sheffield United 3-1, again Kvaratskhelia doing the business. And with those 3 wins in the spin, we find ourselves in second, 4 points clear of third, but unfortunately City have won 3 on the spin too, meaning it's still 8 points the difference, and we're running out of games. And against Palace we didn't even turn up, an absolute shambles of a performance as we lost 4-1. We then beat Bournemouth 3-0, exacting some FA Cup revenge I suppose, but it all feels like too little, too late. And that feeling was confirmed as we lost 2-1 to Brighton, and despite getting back on track-ish with a 2-0 win against Brentford, we had City and Liverpool in the following games, which we lost both, losing to a late goal in both games. 1-0 to City, 3-2 to Liverpool. With 3 defeats in 4 games, we've now slipped to 5th. 5th! We were in the title race 6 weeks ago, now we might miss out on Champions League football. Mathematically, the title is gone, so it's ensuring we qualify for the Champions League, which in fairness is definitely a success. But being in the mix for so long kind of feels a little bit anticlimactic. Speaking of anticlimactic, it definitely was against Villa as Beto scored with quarter of an hour to go. January signing Yeremy Pino then equalised for us, nodding home a Reece James cross, but Reece James wasn't done there. In the 93rd minute, with the last kick of the game, he stepped up and scored a great free kick. A dramatic turnaround, and all the better as Arsenal drew. We're now level on points with 2 games left. Sadly, our goal difference is considerably worse, and it could come down to that. Maybe we should have spent big on a marquee striker in the summer. Maybe Diamonde had a point. We then dismantled Fulham 4-1, doing exactly what we needed to. It was a comfortable victory as it was never in doubt. We scored consistently and asserted our dominance all over the pitch. Could United do us a favour and beat Arsenal? Yes! Yes they could! A Marcus Thuram goal in the 89th minute, and now all we have to do on the final day is draw and we've got Champions League football. A nervy final day approached as Arsenal had Villa and we had already relegated Luton. By the time Thiago Silva pours ahead, Arsenal were already 2-0 up in their game. Luton then equalised as Arsenal grabbed their third. A couple of minutes later we then restored our advantage, but that didn't last long. Luton equalised again, making it 2-2. Villa, to be fair, had pulled one back against Arsenal by this point, but Arsenal were in complete control as they scored a fourth to finish things off. Meanwhile, it was a very nervy final few minutes at Stamford Bridge as already relegated Luton nearly scuppered our Champions League ambitions. That would have been very Chelsea, wouldn't it? But despite our best efforts to bottle the season, we've managed to qualify for the Champions League. With a very strong first team and lots of youngsters who can fill in the squad, our efforts at saving Chelsea have to be considered a success. Is this where the journey ends, or do we carry on and see what we can achieve? Let me know in the comments if you'd like this story to continue.